Today, I am so excited to welcome someone whose work really sits at the intersection of creativity, intuition, and self-understanding. Marco, also known as Reiki Marco, is a human design and sensory design practitioner offering sacral calibrations that help people reconnect to their body and inner authority in such a powerful way. He's also a musician and a co-founder of Neutrino Design, a space he built alongside his business partner to explore how we can design lives that actually feel aligned. Marco, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to South North Walk. Hello, Marco. How are you doing?
Lovely. Feeling the sunshine, and it's a beautiful day.
Good. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so happy to have you on. I think that the information that you have and the practices that you teach are incredibly helpful in terms of guiding people. And it's a very unique way as well. I think not as many people are informed about human design or sensory design. Would you mind, for anyone who has never heard of this, just giving us a quick summary about what this practice entails?
Totally. So I've been in the spiritual awakening world for probably since 2012, right? Like when the minds predicted it was all going to fall apart. That's when I had my first initial dark night of the soul spiritual awakening, and I got into it by means of Reiki. And I was just really depressed in college and kind of had to find something to ground myself. And so I started engaging in Reiki, which is a Japanese healing modality. Basically, it really got me aware of the impact that the things that I was bringing into my body and bringing into my mind was having on me. And so fast forward a decade or so, there's is this system called human design that I'm not really familiar with. And someone tells me, "Oh, you're a reflector." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" They go, "You're part of the 1%." And I'm like, "I don't know about this hierarchy thing, but 1% is cool. What is this all about?" So it was just a nuanced thing. And what I learned with Reiki was that, at the end of the day, every system, whether it's Kundalini yoga, whether it's transcendental meditation, Joe Dispenza, whatever it is, tarot cards, it's all looking to harmonize our internal world, our internal Reiki, with the external Reiki. And this human design stuff was a combination of the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, and astrology. And it essentially gives us a sort of like a blueprint on how our energy centers are connected. And so a lot of people are really familiar with the chakras. I was working with the chakras a lot. And this system uses a 9-centered body graph. And the nuanced thing that it gave me was this sort of contrarian idea to you are a creator consciousness, which is that we're not creator consciousness. Human design actually teaches us that we're actually a passenger consciousness, and that the whole goal of this experience and passenger experience is to actually surrender to the form or the vehicle that we're in. And that is something that spirituality, when I was first getting into it, it was all about transcending the body. It was all about going beyond and above into the spiritual realms. And so this was one of the things that really grounded me back into my body. And it was still just a collection of information. And so when I met my best friend Pasha in probably about 5 or 6 years ago, life is going so fast. I've had a couple children since then. So the numbers might be a little bit off, but 5 or 6 years ago, I met my best friend Pasha, who is a biomechanics specialist, really is a miracle worker. His journey brought him from having scoliosis and addiction to being able to conquer scoliosis. He's got one of the straightest spine and one of the best movers I've ever seen, just through functional training and functional movement. Also obsessed with human design. And so we sort of teamed up, and, he's approaching human design from the physical standpoint. I'm approaching it more from the spiritual, energetic standpoint. And so that's kind of how sensory design was created, was a question of like, how do we take all of this information, right? There's 444 pages in this book, which is arguably the, human design 101 book.
Yeah.
And it was like, how do we take this and turn it into something that's practical and that you can actually practice? And so we have a lot of sensory-based drills like chipmunk cheeks, right? Sour face, eye drills, a lot of swallowing involved. And basically what we're looking to do is give people a way of tangibly engaging in the human design experiment rather than just learning a bunch of information out of a book, actually giving that experiment a foundation. Because plenty of people know their strategy and authority, they know their gates and channels, but when it comes time to live their design and the pressure is on and the expectations are on and there's deadlines and there's a lot going on, most people just resort back to conditioning. And it's not because they don't know enough, it's because their body hasn't been tempered. And a lot of this I drew from my experience prior to awakening was in martial arts. You know,
Yeah.
like I know all these techniques, but if unless you get punched in the face enough or choked out, like your nervous system just it goes. You know, people say, "Oh, I don't fight because when I fight, I see red and bodies start hitting the floor." And it's like, yeah, your body because you're not well trained. A relationship with violence is important. A relationship with your body is vital. And I always say it's like if you don't have a relationship with your body, like how can you be spiritual? And because
Yeah.
they talk about it all the time. This is the temple, but a lot of people are looking to transcend the temple. And so, yeah, again, we're doing something that is, I feel like, has been asked for a lot. We've been asking for it a lot, and we're looking around and we're just like, there's not really anyone doing it. Let's just do it ourselves. And Pasha and I are third lines, which third line is the line of the martyr, trial and error. And so we've just been building a community all around sensory design. Human design is still there. It's not replacing human design. It's just giving the body the strength and the capacity and the tolerance so that you can undergo this very radical transformation. Because for a lot of people, they've been living literally opposite to their human design, opposite
Yeah.
to their nature and the way that they've been designed by the planet, by the cosmos to live. And so this is just a way of making it, again, not only practical, but also just like we can share results. Certain exercises do things for me that they won't do for you because we're different and we're differentiated. And so ultimately it's a big exploration of like what's works and what is like fluffy spiritual jargon, and where can we practice this, not necessarily because there's a safe space to practice it, but because we actually have a sense of what's safe. Back to the Reiki
Yes.
thing, it was like I realized I was putting a lot of conspiracy videos and negativity, a lot of information not only my body couldn't handle, but it wasn't necessarily high quality information. And my eyes also, I had these blinders on, right? Because of fear and ignorance. And so primarily what we're looking to do is give people the opportunity to train their sensory system, because a lot of people will shut down in
Yeah.
their spiritual awakening, right? Like don't go to parties anymore, you don't go to clubs. And not that clubs are great, but it's like how spiritual are you really and powerful are you really if you can't go to a club and maintain some level of composure, be a light in the club or on the subway or wherever you go, or be invisible if you want to be. And a lot of that has to do with first opening up the eyes and the sacral
Brilliant.
calibration. Those ahas and drills that I do um, are super vital. So there's a lot of foundational things, but primarily it's working with the eyes, working with the sacral, working with the body.
Wow, Marco, what you do is incredible and it works too. I was drawn to you and I knew from the moment I did the first exercise with you, the sacral calibration and the uh-uhs, I was like, it works, it's magic. So I think that you being able to prove in little doses throughout your social media is so beneficial because it really is a buy-in that proves itself. You can't deny it. But I also saw you talking about specifically how you need to surrender to the form. And that is really important because it is really about your body being able to catch up with your mind. If you're trying to move your mind places or transcend the mind, like you say, the body's a temple. It really does have to travel up with the mind. So what is one of the biggest challenges you face in working with people who are really trying to over intellectualize their feelings or intellectualize everything? How do you balance people and get them to surrender more to the body?
It's I keep introducing them back into the body. So for
Great.
instance, I'll do drills with people in my sessions. I'll say something like, hey, puff your cheeks out, look up, keep the pressure in your cheeks and swallow, and I'll watch them struggle, right?
Yeah, it's
It's
hard.
challenging. That one in
Yeah.
particular for me was very challenging when I first started doing this. And as I came at it with a lot of embodiment already, martial artist, dancer, mover, spun fire, sword fighting, all that stuff. And I can't keep the pressure in my cheeks, look up and swallow. I'm like, what is this? What is this? And so I experienced the mental sort of blocks. And really what it is it's overcoming embarrassment and disgust. I don't want to look
Yes.
dumb. I'm disgusted by the fact that I can't do this, or other people are disgusted. It's again so much of how does this look from the outside that is the barrier. And so me just
Mm.
being the friendly guy that I am, when they, they get choked up and they ask me, they go, "What is that about?" And I say, "Can you take a couple breaths and let's just like let that question stand. I'm not going to answer."
Brilliant.
And then they'll be like, "That was really uncomfortable." And I was like, "Oh, great, do that again." And they're like, "Oh, it was a little bit easier that time." And I was like, "Look, this is something, it's not a quantum leap, right? It's just a small degree in shifting what you practice." And even when we, for our members that are in our community, this is not something that you have to be conscious of all the time. It's just like have a simple practice in the morning, do one of the very many classes or drills that we set up for you, or create your own, which we really encourage people to create their own, especially after they've gone through the first season and they kind of know, okay, these moves are for the head and ajna. I have an undefined head and ajna, so I'm going to do these ones specifically. Or I have a solar plexus, emotional authority, so I'm going to do this set specifically because it's designed for the solar plexus. You do it at the beginning of your day, and then you forget about it, right? Because it's about living your life, not constantly auditing yourself and checking your nervous system and doing all this thing. It's actually about giving people permission to just fully be immersed in the experience. And again, front loading the practice makes it so that when pressure does show up, when conditioning does show up, when your lower self or your not self does show up, you can just see it clearly. And for a lot of people, all they need is like 2 or 3 seconds to see it, and then once they see it, they can adjust accordingly.
That's really powerful. And as someone doing the work myself, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you, and I've experienced it firsthand. But for some people, I think, who haven't started the journey, it's hard to embody this information or conceptualize what this really looks like and what it feels like unless you're actually starting to participate. Which is one of the reasons I love your work, Marco, because you really do prove instantaneously in short bouts how it can be effective. But for people who are still in that state of intellectualizing, can you give us some kind of idea of what one of the elements of your human design you personally learned that has helped you, and how it's shaped one of your main practices or core practices in working with your chart?
My goodness, that's a loaded question. It's ultimately completely flipped the script on a lot of the things that I've learned about spirituality. Because so many of the things that I learned about spirituality and life in general came from the external authorities. They came from the world. They came from the church. I was raised Roman Catholic, so my morals come from the church. They came from my spiritual teachers, who were, again, other human beings that had got information from other human beings. And so I would say one of the things that, sensory design helped me unlock about human design as well, because human design comes from Ra Uruhu, comes from his experience with the voice, and sensory design was the thing that actually allowed me to connect with my inner authority. Not because the book was telling me this is how you're supposed to ride the lunar wave, or this is how you ride the solar plexus emotional authority or the sacral authority, but I actually have a tangible sensation. And so, this as a even more practical piece, smelling and swallowing, right? Sensory information. Like there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of breathwork teachers out there. I've been to a lot of different breathwork courses. Very, very few, maybe one or two, have ever mentioned the concept of smell in their breathwork practice. And it's usually as like if you get the crab claws, we can put like some black pepper under your nose or peppermint and bring you back into your body using the smell. But it's like every single breath is a smell,
Yeah.
and every time we're bringing sensory information into the body, there could also be a swallow, which helps to further suction and repressurize our bodies. Like even when we drink water, and you don't notice this until your ears are plugged up, right?
Yeah.
But when you drink water, there's this little pop that happens in your ears, and that's a repressurization based off of liquid going into your body, and your body does this all automatically, right?
Wow.
Same thing with your heartbeat and your lungs and your digestion. All this stuff is happening automatically. And For the people that want to over intellectualize it, that's the sensory information that has answers to all of the questions that your mind wants to ask.
That's so brilliant, Marco. That's so brilliant. If you have so many questions, just say less and just try it. Just feel it. And
Say
the
less,
feeling will answer the questions.
smell the question. Like pick an object, like smell what does it smell like, right? If you swallow it, okay, does it go down easy? Is it hard? There's that saying, it's a hard pill to swallow, right? And that comes from literally being able to take the things that you see, smell, and taste through the trigeminal nerve, which is one of the most sensory rich parts of the body, comes up through the eyes, nose, and the mouth, wraps around here, travels down the sides of the neck, and just fans out into the body, right? Getting that information into the body, accepting things deeper. Because again, the mind is a wonderful, wonderful mechanism, but it's a problem solver. So it
Yeah.
inherently wants to focus on the thing that's wrong, right? That's what
Mm,
it's good at doing. So if you don't have access to the body, which is a mechanism of like what feels good, what feels correct, what do we have energy for, right? What is safe? If you don't have access to that information or you're not considering that in your decisions are heavily based on the external authority. What are my friends going to think? What's my mom going to think? What does the science have to say? What do the experts have to say? And for those of us that have been in the spiritual world, right? Like, how many times have you heard about somebody curing cancer with, sound healing instruments? It's like, it's not necessarily like super abundant, but there are these miracles that happen. And part of my study is like, how does that happen? How does one get to that place? And again, the theory is that, hey, the body knows exactly what it needs. For some people, their cancer is cured through sound healing. For other people, it's doing a plant-based diet. For other people, it's a carnivore-based diet. But you can't go to somebody else to tell you what's going on with your liver if you're
yeah.
not willing to connect with your liver, because someone might tell you something, oh, you need this nutrient based off this test for your liver, and it turns out that you have a genetic mutation that supplement actually messes you up, and you're on that for 3 or 4 years, and your liver the whole time is like, this is not good, but you're too busy listening to the experts. So again, yeah, coming back to the smell, coming back to the swallow, hearing things, tasting things, even the taste of the words that are coming out of your mouth, right? Are they hot? Are they cold? Do they have a sour taste? Do they taste sweet? And then being able to cross reference that with the mind is overwhelmed by this amount of data. It's overwhelmed. It's really good at focusing on one or two data points at a time, usually one, maybe some connecting things, but it doesn't necessarily do a whole lot of things at once. The body is literally built for this. That's why babies and little kids, they grow and they learn so quickly because their mind has yet to turn on. So they're not necessarily focused on, is this right? Does this look cool? Is so and so going to think this? They learn that from us. But one of the cool things about human design, and not a lot of people talk about it, is that we're in transition from a seven-centered being, which is very mental. And this is why a lot of people are very mental, because this is what has kept us alive. This is what's worked. We're moving towards a much more individualized, emotionally coherent being, which means that, we're able to actualize ourselves without necessarily the need for external validation. And you're seeing it everywhere, and it's chaotic and it's messy. And of course, just like in X-Men, not sure if anyone's ever seen that, but like in X-Men, the mutants, the new beings, are a threat to the older beings because
Yeah.
they've had the power, right? The normal human beings have had the power, and now there's these beings that are incredibly emotionally resilient, instantaneous healing powers, psychic, empathetically able to read people's emotions. And it's scary for people that have relied on their mind so heavily. And so yeah, a big part of it is just acknowledging that like the mind has gotten us pretty far. And
Yeah.
at some point, right, the mechanisms for survival have to adapt and have to mutate and be tested in order for us to continue moving forward in life. And that's what it's all about. So I don't know if I actually
That's
answered the question there.
You did. No, you did. That was such a great analogy as well at the end there. I think that's super valid. Um, that is, yeah. This is food for thought for sure. Our listeners will be very lucky. Um, so, if you were going to help someone or work with someone, what do you think some of the biggest, the most impactful things that you can teach people besides their body and going over their chart? What do you think are some of the biggest impacts you've had working with clients?
um Getting people to recognize where they're at, like I mentioned earlier with the, the looking up and swallowing. Another really good exercise or test that I'll put someone through is just test their eyes, like see how glued their eyes are to their head. So I'll ask them to, keep their eyes on the camera, turn their head to the left as far as they can, but keep their eyes on the camera and then come back. And the amount of like glitchiness or stutters or even lack of range of motion, like they can only turn their head, you know, halfway, they can't go the
Yeah.
full 90, right? These are just showing us limitations, but in reality, that's just where they're at. And so that's the most impactful thing, because everyone knows where they want to go, right? I want to be more emotionally resilient. I want a partner that shows up this way. I want a job that is like this. But it's harder to come to terms with where you're at, and that's where I, as a reflector, come in really handy, because even me, I'm a reflector. I can't see myself without a mirror, right? And so having somebody who can mirror you, and not in a way of speaking affirmations. I mean, I'm not a jerk on my sessions, but people will ask questions and I'll say, okay, you're attempting to run, but you haven't even learned how to crawl yet. And fundamentally, crawling mechanics set you up for running. Children that don't spend a good amount of time crawling, when it comes time to developing running mechanics or walking mechanics, even there's hurdles that they have to go through, that if they just spent a little bit more time crawling, right, those would just naturally be gone. And so yeah, a lot of it is really just like reining people back in and be like, hey, this is where you're at, this is where you're at. Because the cool part about that as well is, again, a lot of the times that makes it more simple, that makes it more achievable, but that also makes it more scary, because now the work is actually right in front of you. It's not, oh, when I'll be ready to do this in 3 months. It's like, hey, this is, you wake up every day and you spend 5 minutes smelling, swallowing, turning your head, puffing your cheeks out, and feeling like a dum dum. That's your most people's um, first hurdle that they need to do, is just actually get through that initial ungluing the eyes from the head and accepting how limited their ability to pressurize, how limited their ability to tolerate their own effort is. And just
Yeah.
once you accept those limitations, that's the moment that it's like, okay, these are the limitations. Boom, here's the actual way to transcend them. And a lot of the times it's just through them. People ask, why am I not good at this? And I'm like, well, when's the last time you did this? And I'm like, I've never done this. And I was like, that's why you're not good at it.
Exactly. Oh, that's incredible. I think it's really powerful to be able to give someone a practice they can do right away, because so many of
Mhm.
us want the end result or they want the quick fix. And it's like you say, it's so funny when you give them the answers or the quick fix or the work to do on that's right there. It can be harder than just thinking about the problem. It's like actually solving the problem, even though it's something as simple as, puffing your cheeks or doing some calibration a few minutes a day. Why do you think it's so challenging for people? Do you find a lot of people resist, or do you feel like it, how long do you think it takes for people to get into the ease of the routine or to feel a little less silly, actually see results when they start to implement these kinds of practices?
Yeah, most of the people I work with are literally just waiting for the permission slip to do something really simple. Every
Great.
now and then I'll get somebody who is really in resistance and really like, okay, but if you could, and they'll ask the same question in a bunch of different ways. And I was like, well, let's run through that exercise one more time, you know? Because it's literally just like a brute force hack.
Yeah.
It's not some sneaky kind of way. I mean, sometimes I can use the sneak around, but at the end of the day, it is you have to show the mind through repetition that it's safe to, again, do embarrassing things in the body. Like, what this really comes back to is this sort of tribal fear of being excluded from the tribe. I look dumb. My friends aren't going to like me. My parents aren't going to like me. I'm not going to get fed. I'm not going to have somewhere to eat. For the seven-centered being, the where we're coming from, not fitting in, not being a part of a tribe literally meant death. It literally meant death. And we are obviously moving away from that sort of tribal mentality to the point where an individual can acquire enough resources, information to completely live on their own. Not that we're supposed to do that, but to
Mhm.
have that level of individual sovereignty, again, it's very daunting and scary. And so yeah, most people are really just like, they're ready because again they know, and then they feel it and they're like, God, I suck at this. Like, oh wow, there's my negative mental thoughts. Like, whoa, this is really cool. And so one of the frames that I put it in is like, look, if the biggest stressors in your life are external, other people, your job, social media, whatever, like you have no control over that. But if you can put yourself up there in being a stressor, like I stress myself, I'm wearing a breath belt right now,
Oh,
which is which is, that's what I was doing at the beginning of the call, squeezing me. And it's asking me like, hey, how are you going to balance out this pressure? And
wow.
I'm not doing this for like extra credit or like this is say I need a challenge on these podcasts. It's not like that. It's just, again, my inner authority is like, hey, go outside, touch grass,
Yeah.
right? Go outside, dig out some cane grass. I wasn't touching the grass because it's really sharp and pokey. Come inside, like there's the breath belt. It's like, ooh, put that on. It's like, wait a second, I'm
Yeah.
about to do a podcast. Shouldn't I be as relaxed as possible, not increasing my cortisol? Again, everyone's trying to like lower their cortisol. I'm like, hey, get better at using the cortisol because the stress is,
Yeah.
it's a natural part of life. You wake
Yes.
up, the sun hits your eyes, that's cortisol, right? Your stomach starts gurgling, you start getting the hunger pangs, that's cortisol. I love fasting. It's not great for everybody, but fasting I think is so important because you get to meet a version of yourself that you never let out. I get hangry. So do you have people in your life that love you when you're angry? Or do you only have people in life that love you when you're agreeable? And when you're angry, they dismiss you or they try and shut you down.
This is
I asked the big
amazing.
question.
No, you've got the best questions. Marco, I love this chat. It's such a great conversation. It's so helpful. And I think you've really done a really good job of identifying a problem that has a solution. And I think for a lot of us, it's really just about connecting back to mind, body, and soul, and just knowing how it sounds like for you, especially, you've really helped us visualize how working with your own body or knowing what your body needs is just a really great way to live in balance and harmony. That's awesome. Thank you.
It's
Um,
way more fun, more satisfying, and it's also a lot easier. Like it takes so much
yeah,
energy to try and be somebody else, and when you
yeah,
realize how exhausting that is, and how much like, oh, you might lose some friends, you might miss out on a job, you might be homeless for a little bit, you might be directionless for a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's like, ah, man, you can fail at being somebody else, so why not fail trying to be yourself?
I love that. Just finding the comfort in the discomfort, guys. That's all it is. Well, look, I'm gonna
Yeah,
wrap us up,
creating
but oh, sorry, go ahead. I want to hear that. I want to hear your.
like creating comfort within the discomfort, right? Like at one point, everything that you are probably proud of right now, at one point scared the crap out of you. And
Yeah,
so, it's not necessarily getting comfortable within the discomfort. It's about embracing the discomfort as like, hey, this is the thing that's actually going to grow me. And then on a deeper level, differentiating that between, yo, this is something that is oppressing me. This is something that I actually need to get away from because I can't win this battle, right? Like if you're tired in the ocean playing around, a delusional person would try and fight the ocean. Somebody that needs rest and can acknowledge when to give up the fight, right? they those are the ones that live. That's how mutation works, right?
yes, that's such a good analogy, guys. Don't fight the ocean. Take a break if you need a
No.
break.
Train
Well,
with the
look,
ocean, but eventually it's gonna beat you.
yeah. But don't be too delusional. Make it out alive. Marco, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. I think that this conversation will benefit a lot of people. I know for sure it's benefited me. Before we leave, would you mind taking us through a sacral calibration so we can see what that looks like if anyone's never seen any of your content before?
Absolutely. So all you're gonna do is just respond out loud with sounds. It can be uh-huh, uh-uh, ew, yuck, yum. Any sound works. Just don't use words. I'm gonna ask questions. This might go a little fast for some of you. Just respond with sounds. Do your best not to overthink it. So we're gonna start off with a smell. Swallow. Blow a cool stream of air, puff out your cheeks like a chipmunk, like you're blowing out a birthday candle, and then respond with sounds. Do you like how it smells? Can you hear music? Are you outside? Do you feel pressured by anybody? Are you alone? Are you wearing shoes? Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Do you feel emotional? Do you like flowers? Are you at work? Are you driving? Do you have a social media account? Do you like social media? Do you like yourself? Are you wearing gloves? Are you wearing a necklace? Do you feel warm? Do you know anything about your human design? Are you standing up? And smell again. Swallow. Blow that cool stream of air. And sacral calibration complete.
You're incredible, Marco. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.